Hello, everybody. Welcome to Investing in Cannabis. I'm your host, Brandon David. This is the show where we talk about cannabis. We talk to early stage founders. We talk to investors giving them money. This is episode number 8. I could not be more excited for tonight. When we started this show, we had a very, very clear mission. We wanted to begin to legitimize this industry. There's a lot of stoners out there, a lot of people sitting on the couch, a lot of people eating munchies, getting food delivered at the same time they're getting their cannabis delivered. Nothing wrong with delivery. But we sought out to find guests that were making real differences in the industry. And that's exactly what we have today. Shabnam, Malek, Amanda Conley. You have so many companies, I don't even know where to start. But honestly, Brandon Branch, you go into these obviously. Bay Area Women Grow, the second biggest chapter in the country of Women Grow, very cool. And the National Cannabis Bar Association, which is brand new, right? This year?
Yeah, June 30th it launched.
So, which one do you like most? Is that like picking a child?
That's terrible. How can you make us
But
choose?
it turns out
I
we
try
do
to ask
have a
tough
favorite
questions.
child.
You know?
we do have a favorite.
Parents do have a favorite child.
It's true.
Which one do we like most? We like them all equally as much, depending on the day.
Yeah,
Depending on the day.
definitely depending on what they demand of us.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Take us through a little bit. Which one was first? Women Grow was first? Is that the first one that you started? Or got your
Well,
charter?
we were
How does
lawyers
that work?
first. Before it all, we were
Yeah.
lawyers.
Cool.
But we didn't have our own law firm first of these 3 or 4 different projects.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Bay Area chapter Women Grow was first.
Yeah,
That's right.
so we were working together at another law firm, a small boutique intellectual property firm for a while. Shabnam had been there before me. I knew her from a previous job and came over. And so we kind of got started working with clients in the cannabis industry. And through those connections, we met Jasmine Hupp, the CEO and co-founder of Women Grow. And Denver was just launching, I guess, when we met them, maybe the following month. So we got in conversation with Women Grow, and they asked us to start a chapter, or maybe we said, please let us start a chapter. This sounds amazing. And it was almost a year ago now, so it'll be a year in October.
Cool.
And we had 13 people at our first meeting. We had it in our little conference room, about the size of the room we're in right now, and everyone fit, and it was really lovely and very, intimate. And at our most recent event, we had 130, 140, and that's been pretty consistent.
Well, congratulations.
For a while.
That's cool. That's very cool.
This area, this industry.
So when you get up on that first night in front of those 13 women, what do you say? I mean, what's the mission?
Oh my God,
why do you
did you
start
say?
this?
What did we say?
I think she spoke, right? You repeated the mission that National set forth, which is like something about connecting and educating.
Yeah, I watched
and
the
supporting.
video, but
Yeah,
I was
all right,
kind of
there you
lost.
go. There you go, exactly. Go to womengrow.com. What did we say? What was our pitch?
I mean, we talked about it being a support of entrepreneurs. It's really focused on Women Grow as a company. It's not a nonprofit. They're really focused on making this industry, the first one not dominated by men, the first billion-dollar industry, multi-billion-dollar industry not dominated by men. And so we talked about some of the unique issues, I guess, that women face, and then in cannabis generally.
Yeah, we did talk about the unique issues women face, because I remember afterwards we had that whole conversation about, wait, these aren't unique issues that women face. These are issues that women face, and
Right,
they're just
not
all
unique to
whole hog
cannabis.
here in the
Yeah.
cannabis industry.
Yeah.
Same thing as usual. We need to now
So what are they? What issues do women face specifically in cannabis?
lack of solid leadership roles, lack of opportunities to lead businesses and companies.
Not being seen as leaders or
not
taken
being seen as
seriously.
leaders, right? People sort of, maybe this is a little bit unique to the cannabis issue, the idea that, a woman sort of embracing in this industry, there's a lot more judgment that comes along with that. People don't expect there to be a woman, a mother in this industry. This sort of idea that, you should be home with the children while the man is out there growing the marijuana or whatever it is. So that is
we see a lot of articles about like, how do you handle being a mom and being in the industry or consuming cannabis?
Right.
Well, dad's in the home
surely
too
this
for
whole
straight
time,
couples.
right?
Like,
These men have had children.
Yeah.
It's that same sort of thing that the female politicians say, women politicians, that how come no one's asking the male politicians who's watching the kids or what they're doing while they're on the road? And so it's sort of the same thing here. Everyone's wondering what's going to happen to the children now that the women are in the industry, and the same thing's going to happen that's always happened. They're going to grow up just fine,
They'll be okay, yeah.
They'll be fine, yeah.
It's interesting. In some ways, there are issues unique to cannabis, but I always kind of want to say, look, I think, we've had an industry in California for a number of years now, in different forms and, whatever. But there have been people in this for 5-10 years working to dispel stereotypes about cannabis generally and about women in cannabis and about women professionals. And we are coming in at a time where we're very fortunate to be benefiting from all of the work that they have done in the industry and politically the work that's happened. And I think, cannabis is, the industry is uniquely more liberal and open-minded than a lot of industries. And so you're coming to it with that. And so I think that's why Women Grow has been so well received, because there's this recognition that hey, this is going to blow up and we need to do it right, because we've seen a lot of industries do it wrong. And so maybe not everyone sees that, but I do feel like there's a lot of support. So we talk a lot about difficulties for women, but I also want to focus on this is great. We're coming together and doing this right, and this has potential. Yeah,
so community is something that gets thrown around in the tech world so much, right? We even coined the community manager, right? Somebody that, right? But I think in cannabis it actually makes a difference. From talking to people are all about the community and the movement. And let's be honest, women are just better at community than men are,
we're
right?
Good at it,
we're all selfish and kind of gross.
Really
right?
Yeah. You've had traditionally gotten leadership positions. You continue to fight for them, and we're how can we work together?
Yeah, exactly. Right, exactly.
So you said there's 140 members now or something, or in your last meetup, how many people showed up? And
somewhere around that, 130, 140. The Women Grow model is really unique and cool because you don't sort of sign up for membership on an annual or even monthly basis. You attend the meetings, and sort of by virtue of attending meetings, you are a member. So our Bay Area chapter might have upwards of 300, 350 members, but the attendance at any one event tends to hover around 100 to 130, and it's just perfect. We have structured networking. Amanda always comes up with these great structured networking opportunities, and we now know that people are getting jobs through these meetings. People are making personal connections. People's businesses are growing. We're able to connect, a cultivator. Oh, I have product. Oh, here's a, delivery company. Let's connect the two of them. That's really happening at these Women Grow meetings. So each month, and I remember in the beginning thinking that, people are going to get fatigued. Once a month is way too frequent. Who's going to keep showing up month after month? And now you can hardly even wait for the next one, because you're so eager to get back in touch with those contacts that you made, or you've completed something in 30 days and now you want to come and share it with some new folks and new contacts. And and in fact, we're having them more often, right? We're having other special events to sort of fill in these periods of time where before I thought once a month, my God, who's going to show up once a month?
But it's crazy. But actually there's I think Jasmine gave a statistic of 50% turnover on average.
Yes.
So half the people who come every month are new.
Okay.
And so that's great. So we've got some folks who have been at every meeting or almost every meeting since the start.
And the new folks, who are they? What kind of person comes to Women Grow?
So amazing.
Huge variety, and not just women at all.
So dudes can go too.
Yes,
That's
dudes
allowed.
can go too.
Right,
we welcome people of all genders to
right.
Women Grow.
Right.
We welcome people who identify as women to speak.
Sure. I see. Okay.
Our chapter has that policy. That's not a national policy. It's probably 40% men at a lot of the events. I think men are great supporters. We want you guys in the room. You guys historically have the power and money. Please come support us.
So
we are not going to exclude you. Give it. Yeah, that's
you gotta
great.
be there. So we can
that's what we're trying to do right here, right?
We appreciate that. It's everyone. A lot of lawyers, of course, because that's who we know. Cultivators, edibles producers, dispensary owners, media types, people who are in the industry. We had some folks from Toshiba.
Yeah, people who are not even in the industry, but are getting into it or want to.
Sometimes we've been having our events at Meadows headquarters, and you wouldn't think of that as a
really nice space.
It's a great space.
We've done a few episodes there too.
It's really nice.
Space.
Cool. You wouldn't think of it as a high foot traffic area, but we've had some drop-ins weirdly. People are what's going on here? And sometimes just come in, and it's really welcoming. I was just in conversation with a lawyer who doesn't practice this kind of law the other day, and she was like, I'm looking to meet people around here, and I was like, come to a Women Grow event. It doesn't matter if that's not necessarily your interest.
Yeah. Shout out to Meadow and David Hua enjoying Burning Man currently. I'm sure he's the leader of the YC clan camp or whatever.
It's pretty funny. So Women Grow National was we have to move the September event to the 10th because of Labor Day. And we were like, okay. And we've been putting together committees because people are so excited about getting involved. They really want to take ownership, which is fantastic. So we tried to host a committee meeting this Thursday. And half of the group's like, oh, I'm going to be at Burning Man. And they're like, oh, that's why you moved Women Grow. This wasn't about Labor Day.
Which in fact is next weekend anyway.
Right.
Yeah,
It didn't even, like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
All right, so you touched on a little bit in your background. Women Grow. Tell me a little about Brand and Branch. How did that come together? Name is very cool. I just kind of put that together in my head too. But yeah, tell me about that a little bit.
Yeah.
Brand and Branch, it's so awesome. It's our favorite. Let's face it. No, I'm kidding.
It's our baby.
Maybe it's our baby. It is. So it's our law firm, and it's so crazy. You know, so Amanda and I started working together probably about 4 years ago. We had this tiny bit of overlap when we were both in big law. We were at this big national, really multinational law firm.
Okay.
And I totally remember so distinctly. I was like a mid-level associate. She was a summer associate. For all the lawyers and MBAs out there, it's this thing that you do while you're still a student. And
So were you like her boss?
I was not her boss, but I was senior to her for sure.
Yeah,
and she was dabbling in my group. And
I was trying to get in. I was like, can I work for you?
Yeah, I was like the only trademark attorney at O'Melveny at the time, and it was a cool gig. Yeah, and only some people knew what a cool gig it was, because if you don't know IP and if you don't know trademarks, you don't realize that that's like the fattest gig ever.
Got it.
So she was like sniffing around, and I remember seeing her and thinking, she works too hard, and why is she working so hard? She's a summer, doesn't she know? And then so anyway, she goes away. I go on maternity leave. Probably like 2 years pass. She comes back for real, and we overlap again for a short period of time after my maternity leave, and then I quit. And I was like, all right, peace out, see ya. But then we sort of stayed in touch, and then I reached out to her when I was at this boutique and recruited her and brought her over in conjunction, again, with another maternity leave.
Yeah,
So,
she was like,
yeah.
hey, come work for literally a day.
Right.
She
We had
spent
one
like
day
the
overlap.
craziest 8 hours being like, okay, so handle this matter, and this matter, and this matter. I gotta go.
Yeah, exactly. That's
going
what it was like. Exactly. And everybody in the firm was like, you know her really well, right? And I was like, sure, yeah, I know her. Bring her in here. I'll hand off my work. Yeah, I know who she is. She's like a hard worker to me. And so I dump all my work on her again for the second time. And I leave and go on maternity leave. I come back, and she's like started to get into the cannabis work. And the firm hands us the cannabis practice. And we spend a year working together every day in each other's offices all day, every day. Having
Just like
so
super
much
collaborative.
fun.
Everything.
Yeah, like just get so much so that finally the partners were like, what's the deal with you two? Can you be separated? You know?
They were like, why?
Yeah.
Who's trying to separate us?
Exactly. I mean, we'd like be in each other's offices. Like literally, she'd
Like,
bring
just
her.
working.
I was on with a laptop. Yeah, I'd come to your office and just post and sit there, like peek out into the hallway.
Yeah, they were like, we don't know about what our associates are doing.
Yeah, exactly. And then finally we were like, fuck it, let's go. Let's do our own thing, hang out our own shingle, own our time, own our schedules. And Women Grow was going really great for us then. We knew that we had a lot of people supporting us, actually, more so than
Amazing
even like
contacts.
sort of like, we didn't so much think that it was going to be an instant sort of book of business. It was this support network. It was this, it's like a net. It's like a spider web.
Really,
And
yeah.
you sit on it and it supports you and it's that strong. And so we were like, these folks are not going to let us fail.
Yeah.
Some one way or another, someone's going to make this work for us and help us and support us. And we made it work for ourselves. And that's what we did. We hung out our shingle. We came up with a name. I think she came up with a name, and we
came up with a
surveyed
lot of
people.
names.
Yeah.
It was so hard. So we're trademark attorneys, and so what we do is tell people, usually, sorry, you can't use that name, because 9 times out of 10, unfortunately, the first name you want to use is
You're like a real life domain registrar, right? Like you can't have investingcannabis.com. It's taken.
Except we don't say, but for $3 million.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we don't even have that loophole. But it's funny, because we'll say, I'm sorry, you can't use, whatever, you can't use cannabis for cannabis or whatever. We're telling them, change your name, and people are always, oh God, it's so hard. And, and I'm always like, all right, deal with it, whatever.
No, it's not that important, right?
But now, having chosen a name, not even the clearance, because, we're trademark attorneys, we're like clearing them as we go, but just like picking a name and then settling on them.
so hard.
We were sending like 5, test names to friends and family every couple days, and their responses were, it was useful, right? Because they had associations that we were like, oh God, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
Like, we really liked Harlequin because it's a high CBD strain, but it's not like super cannabis related. We don't do all cannabis clients. That's the bulk of our practice.
Okay.
But everyone
What
was
percentage
like,
is cannabis, would you say?
right now,
80-ish,
80,
maybe
yeah.
more.
And the other 20 just pay you so well that you can't walk away? Or how does that work?
We like the other work. I mean, it's fun to have that kind of diverse portfolio and not always sort of be looking at the same goods and services. we did a lot of work for technology, for publishing.
That's our background is really tech.
and in this part of the country, it doesn't make sense to leave that stuff behind.
Well, plus, like, we work with Meadow. I can disclose that because that's public, and they're a tech company. I mean, they're perfect, right? Because they fit our tech background really well. We have conversations with them specifically about their technology sometimes, but also, they're a cannabis company. Well, they're a software company that works with cannabis companies, and so it's a good fit. But we really like the publishing side. We're reviewing a manuscript right now for potential liability issues there. Just some interesting. Yeah, it's nice to have variety.
Yeah.
Her husband is really into board games. I mean, and so we're developing some clients there.
Got it. Yeah. So, for example, like if I'm an edible producer, right, and I have I'll give you a perfect example. Last week we had a guy named Gilbert on the show, and he has an infused salsa.
Ooh. Oh, I saw his interview, actually.
It's delicious.
Yeah.
Dude is amazing, has this recipe like 50 years back. His grandmother's like tomatillo salsa recipe, decides to put cannabis in it, and it's amazing. Anyway, so let's say I'm Gilbert and I'm in Oakland, right? And then I decide, hey, I want to also distribute my salsa in Washington State. I would come to you, and how would that work? How could you help?
Well, hopefully we first helped you protect whatever brand you're selling that salsa under.
Okay.
And in the United States, trademark rights derive out of use, not registration, although registration gives you presumptive nationwide rights. There are a lot of benefits that come with federal registration, and so we recommend it and try to get it. And there's some interesting strategy around how to do that with cannabis clients. But let's say you have a registered trademark in connection with something you offer that doesn't violate the Controlled Substances Act for whatever Gilbert's brand is, let's say Gilbert. And so we'd say, great, we're going to take your trademark rights and we're going to take that trade secret. Hopefully he hasn't shared that recipe with anyone, and that's how you maintain a trade secret. You just keep it a secret. And we'd say, all right, find a partner in Washington who has a commercial kitchen, who's set up, maybe, someone who's already making a complementary but not competitive item, other savory edibles, but maybe not salsa, so that you're not directly competing. And we'll work with them to license to them the right to use your intellectual property, use your brand, copy the same packaging that you're using, although in compliance with Washington law, and license your trade secret from you. And we would draft that agreement and sort of negotiate those deal points. And it's complicated, with non-cannabis clients, you can just sort of decide, do you want a royalty, how you want the deal to be structured, but there are different state laws, of course, in the cannabis context. And so you really need lawyers who have a real knowledge of the nuance of each state's laws and how to draft an agreement that's not going to inadvertently run afoul of either law, which is a great segue into the Bar Association.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. You're doing my job. Go ahead. Let's talk about Bar Association.
So you want to know how we came up with the Bar Association? So
Interesting you ask.
Funny, that's a great question.
You're like the best interview ever. I'm just going to go over there.
Exactly.
You guys stay in front of the camera for a few minutes.
This, Brandon.
So anyway.
So let's talk. So we were working on these sorts of agreements, and where a lot of people are looking to move into Nevada because that's going to be a big money market in Vegas, especially. And you're like, okay, we need to have a good Nevada lawyer that we can reach out to and trust. And, maybe even someone that's not going to charge us for 5 minutes on the phone to ask a question. Just, someone that we know knows their stuff. And we were going to these conferences and we were like, okay, how do we find the other lawyers? Like, we're all dealing with a lot of the same issues. We need to come together. The criminal lawyers have come together through NORML and other organizations, but where are the business lawyers?
Right.
Yeah.
And they're so collaborative, too. So when we're at conferences, we're finding that, a year ago, there weren't that many business lawyers. Now, of course, there's a lot. But also, the lawyers sort of wanted to talk to each other, and they were really forthcoming.
Yeah.
And when we'd reach out and make a contact or ask for some advice, everybody was really warm and friendly. And whether they'd been in the industry for 10, 15 years or, they just got here, just everybody sort of wanted to talk and share information.
Yeah, which is not the case in other industries.
Right,
generally.
exactly.
So that was new.
And other people wanted to talk to the lawyers as well. So, and then inevitably, sort of, you have somebody asking you for other lawyer connections and contacts.
Needing to develop that.
So we just started pulling it together, and we had some friends up in Seattle. We were working on a deal there, and some friends in Nevada, and some friends in Colorado, and a whole bunch of friends right here in California in the Bay Area. And then we just, we were like, hey, let's call this a bar association.
We Googled it. We were like, is there a cannabis bar association? No. So we bought some domains, and then we were like, all right, we should do something with this.
Let's call it a bar association.
Talked to a couple people. They were like, people have talked about that for years. And I was like, well, we bought the domains. So
we're really ready to do it.
And this train is rolling.
Exactly. Watch out.
Right.
And Shabnam was really smart about it. She really spearheaded it. I was a little more focused on Women Grow at the time and really did a smart thing think gathering together all of the people who, you know, I mean, we've been lawyers for a while, her for longer than me, but we have not been cannabis lawyers for that long.
Yep.
Now it's been a little over a year, but at the time we were very new and we recognized that. So she was great about really bringing together the, you know, big wigs in the industry and people who, you know, would feel very left out, as they should if they were not invited to be a part of it.
Got it.
And we're putting together an advisory board for, you know, people like that as well.
And do you pay dues into the association, or is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have a 10-member board, and then we are expanding our board a little bit. We're trying to get more members from the East Coast and east of Mississippi. And then, if you want to join, there are different levels, and we're having a deal on membership
We're extending our
that is
membership
being extended.
deal. Yay!
You got a promo code or something? Can we
No, you
get it
just go on the
out, or-
website. We want to give people an incentive to sign up early and be sort of a founding member. Where you know it's a slower progress. We're rolling it out. And we want people to come together so that we can all build this thing together and give people what they
So what does it
joined
cost
for.
to be part of the association?
So you can join for $150.
Yeah, standard annual membership is $150
as a basic
a year.
member, and then there are tiered memberships up from there that come with different
And
advantages.
what comes that? Like comes with that? Like contacts or networking?
That is such
or...
a good question. We're so glad you
I
asked.
try to ask the good
What the
question. I
member-
mean, every once in a while I come out with a good one.
Hey, your job.
Kind of.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there's a few things that come with it. Contacts, definitely. And so how do those contacts work? We host events. We hosted one really big, terrific launch event on June 30th at the offices of Vicente Cederberg in Denver. It was awesome, and a bunch of lawyers came out, and everybody was talking to each other and connecting with each other. And we had lawyers from, you know, Texas and Massachusetts and Illinois and California and Colorado. It was amazing. It was amazing. It gives me goosebumps just to talk about it. So we're going to do probably about 2 of those a year, where it's sort of the national events get together, everybody meet everybody around the country, and then we're doing smaller regional events. Amanda's actually going to host one when she's in New York, speaking at the NCIA regional conference in New York in September. So she's going to host a little something for the.
What's the NCIA?
It's the National Cannabis Industry Association.
Got it.
A great
I probably should know that.
partner.
Yeah, they're a
You should
great
join them.
organization.
You should know that.
Yeah.
And they work with also the California Cannabis Industry Association, the sort
it.
of local organization.
Yeah, you could join them as a member. Actually, it's a terrific organization.
You got a promo code? Or?
Right. Right. Even I don't get a discount.
Yeah, I wish. You know,
right,
guys?
exactly. Right. You know, exactly. So, so that's one is contact, sort of meeting other people, meeting other lawyers, whether it's for business development, business relationships, to find someone on the other end of an agreement,
And also for the
new
media.
jobs. Yeah, exactly. So we get a lot of media requests. People will often call us because we're on the board and we're running the organization. So they'll call us for a quote on that new bankruptcy case that just came out, or what's going on with the banking laws, or hey, something's happening in the patent and trademark office. And we shoot those out to members because we really want our members to get engaged. And to the extent that they want to be in the public spotlight, we want to give them that platform, let them be quoted. And so those come to us. Most of our members right now, especially at the founding level, are such prolific attorneys in their own right that oftentimes they're being reached out to directly. So they don't really need us, frankly. But you know, we're there for that to the extent that they need that or they want that. And then we have a membership directory that we are working on actively right now, getting our beta up, and that's going to be both internal and external. So if you can't go to an actual event and meet people, you jump online, find them there. We will be hosting educational events. We've actually already hosted one probably about 6 months ago on the issue of franchising. As a matter of fact,
Nice.
you should have attended.
I should have.
Yeah, not just for lawyers, but and we'll be partnering with organizations on hosting some of those, maybe sponsoring them, and that's sort of it. You know, it's a come and get to know other people in the industry that are doing what you're doing. And we're having so much fun with it. It's the group of people that are helping get it off the ground are just amazing. That's really the best
and we've
part.
had
It's
so
the
many
board.
volunteers who want to support us.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just been really
It's
the issue has just been
extraordinary.
coordinating them. There are so
Yeah.
many people who are willing to share their
Yeah.
time, and that's been true across our projects in this industry. People are
Totally.
just really excited,
Yeah, everybody wants a little piece right now,
Yeah,
right? They want
yeah.
in,
Right.
which is exciting.
Right.
and they're willing to do it for free. I mean, which we all kind of have to. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
we're not like
Sure.
asking for volunteers because we're hoarding all the money ourselves. You know,
Right.
we're just
It's
all
all
in startup
volunteer effort
mode
right
and-
now,
Yeah.
the Bar Association,
Yeah.
which is why we'll explain if anyone's experienced any kind of delay and a certain member benefit coming through. It's really because it's an all-volunteer organization by full-time lawyers. Every single person on the board is running, by and large, actually their own law practice full-time because they're either partners or they're
Right.
small firm owners or
Right.
solos. So not a single person is doing even only the Bar Association. All of them, the Bar Association is their second, so in some cases third or fourth project. And for a lot of the attorneys, it's they have a full advocacy and activism role as well as their law practice. And then on top of that, they are giving us their time to run the Bar Association. It's just incredible.
Because they like the movement and they just want to help.
They like the movement. They want to help, and they want to
believe in
really.
it.
They believe in the grooming and mentoring of younger attorneys. A number of the board members and the more senior attorneys have specifically told us that we want to help the younger attorneys come into this industry, whether they're young in terms of their relationship to the cannabis industry, lawyering in this industry, or just actually new lawyers. Because there's sort of both flavors.
Sure.
And that's. I mean, I think that's part of. Like sort of what's going on is this is a group of people who are inherently kind of activists and liberal and want to share and want to collaborate and
supportive.
And
just
support.
We've had so much support. I mean, we've. People don't say like, really, that's a stupid question. They're happy to hear, even when we just got into this and we're like, oh, okay, wait, how do we make sense of this? What does this mean? Just from the get-go, it was like, you're welcome here. We love you. Let's build this thing together.
Yeah, so I have two very good friends, childhood friends, who are relatively new lawyers, maybe like a year and a half, 2 years since they passed the bar. And they're also, they have big, fancy law firm jobs, but they're also fascinated by cannabis and very jealous of what I do, thankfully for me.
Send them
But
to us.
they always wonder, like, is there a good online resource for cannabis law and, like precedents or anything like that? Is that a leading question? You guys have thought of this?
No, it's a really good question. We will have some of that eventually as we scale up. We'll have resources
with all your free time.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
With all the volunteers.
I have an hour.
We'll put together some resources. No, the Bar Association will be a go-to place for that, and we'll work with other organizations who are providing it. And one thing that comes to mind is a company organization called CannaRegs, and they are putting together all of the relevant regulations on cannabis, starting in Colorado.
State-by-state basis,
and doing it on a state-by-state basis. Yeah,
and they've already done Colorado. It's good to go. Yeah, you set up, you can have memberships. And you know who else actually is developing sort of an legal educational component is CEB.
Right.
So they partner with, they're sort of an outgrowth of UCLA, and they partner with the California State Bar, and it's they provide legal education, both seminars and books on California law by and large, but they are developing a whole robust cannabis law section. And then you can just, if you sort of look around, you'll find certain organizations like LSI, Law Seminars International, Above the Law has hosted some stuff. Hillary Bricken's law firm sponsors a fair amount of legal education that will be...
And NCIA.
NCIA, obviously. Oh, yeah, exactly. NCIA hosts legal education courses. So I think it's a substantial amount of seminars you can find, and we will be hosting those. The written material is actually kind of harder, and like Amanda's saying, we're hoping maybe we can be sort of a groundbreaker in that. There's a few blogs that, again, Hillary Bricken's blog comes to mind. That other one that we were reading the other day, gosh darn it, now I can't remember the name.
Remember what it was.
There's a few blogs if you sort of poke around, but actually there isn't really comprehensive legal resource.
There's not a comprehensive resource.
Right.
That's the issue.
A little splintered.
I mean, there's ad hoc. The issue you want to find, Google it, you'll find it. But there's not like one place.
And the law is sort of changing. Like that's the other thing. You commit something to writing, and before you know it, that shit's out of date.
That's
and
really
so
the hard part, especially in this industry. I mean, that's a problem with law in general, but it's really a problem.
But in this
here.
industry, I mean, we're waiting right now for decisions to come out from different level courts to give us some guidance. And even us, like we're waiting right now for someone else, for a colleague to write that response to the office action so that everybody can see how it's going to be handled, right? Like we're having conversations today and tomorrow.
We're waiting on some of our agreements until we see what's going on with AB 266 and other pending legislation. I mean, there is so much is in flux, and so it is hard to have that resource. And until the NCBA was formed, there was not necessarily an organization dedicated to providing sort of that resource on cannabis law
for business lawyers,
business law. Because Normal is a great resource, and they do have some business resources as well. Great, they have a legal directory and a legal community there.
Very cool.
And so we've worked with them as well. And actually some state bars are getting on board. And we're trying to obviously connect with them in this process as well.
And this is not to say that you can't find information about the status of legalization in different states. That's frankly pretty easy. DPA, Normal. I mean, my God, you'd have to not try to find that information. There's a whole bunch of really reliable information on the status of legalization, but we're talking about like what's going on in bankruptcy, what's going on in trademarks. That's pretty hard to find. But and that's
we are going to be one thing that the NCBA is going to be doing is releasing a bulletin. Is
Yeah,
that what we decided
yeah.
to call it? We were toying with journal, bulletin. What's it going to be? We're going to, kind of ramp up slowly as with everything. But we're talking to a great professor. I don't know if I should say who yet.
say it.
Okay, it's Sam Kamen.
Okay,
He's at DU. He's at Denver University, and he does. He teaches on cannabis business. He taught a class on ethical issues in representing the cannabis client. So who could be better to help us spearhead this? And so he's going to take the lead from an editorial perspective, working with some law students and other volunteers on putting out a biannual at first, and then we'll see bulletin where we invite members and high-profile attorneys and things like that to contribute, and so that will eventually be a good resource.
Cool. Well, I got a couple ideas for you in
Yeah.
terms of building that platform. We'll talk
All right.
afterwards.
Yeah, we actually we want to do an e-publishing with the option for a bound edition if somebody wants it. We'll sort of
like a book, like a
well, if somebody wants to pay
like
for
paper?
it, but I know it's a thing.
What do you
I don't
do with
know
it?
exactly. Yeah, exactly. You use
Can
it
you
to
click on
prop your lamp up.
Yeah,
Right.
it's for your laptop when it gets too hot.
It doubles as a high chair. Mommy, what's this? Yeah, it's a high chair, honey.
While we're on the topic of trademark, because that's what you guys know best,
That is
correct?
what we know.
I have this frustration with the strain names of cannabis being inconsistent with what I actually get. So the biggest culprit of this is Blue Dream.
Oh,
Blue
God,
Dream means everything.
There's
right? And
37 different
Yeah.
varieties
Yeah.
of Blue Dream, and if you
Yeah.
get it in LA or you get it in San Francisco or you get it in Oakland,
nothing. Right.
it's different.
Right.
How do we fix that?
God, that is such a good question.
That's a
Thank
really.
you.
That's
we're asking the good questions
You're
over
really
here,
asking
guys.
the good questions tonight.
I didn't write that down either. That's just off the top of the just for the
Wow.
record.
Just
like-
right there.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Just
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, so there are a number of issues here. There's the question of can you use trademark law to do kind of what you're talking about, and then if not, what would you use? And so maybe the answer is obvious. You can't use trademark law, or I wouldn't have asked that second question. So,
Or what part of trademark
or
law
what
can
part-
you
yes.
use? Sort of like can
Fair
you use
enough.
sort of
Yes,
traditional
I was
trademark
thinking
law? Yeah.
certification,
Yeah.
obviously,
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
which is not a
yeah.
traditional. Yeah.
Right.
So the sorry.
Right,
you
you
got
too.
that? So
You two are so adorable together, by the way. Like, wow. Like, I feel like I should have just left. Just put the camera. Jacob, just put the camera on,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I'll leave.
Thank you. Yes, we heard that. All right. So
Deep breaths.
there's a manual that the trademark examiners are bound by, or are guided by when they're examining trademark applications. And one thing that manual says, it says a lot that's relevant to cannabis, but one thing that's relevant to the strain issue is that you can't protect plant varietals. You can't protect the name of a plant varietal. And that's for a number of reasons. One is that it describes the thing. So I can't own...
Fuji apples. You can't
Right.
own Fuji apples.
It's really obvious is I can't own the mark cucumber for a cucumber, but nor can I own
The but
whatever, a special kind of cucumber.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like actually Hot House is a brand name, isn't it?
I'm
In
actually
fact, I
not
wonder.
sure. Okay,
I
well,
think
cucumbers are a bad example.
Well, but the apples is a really good example
Yeah.
because this actually exists a lot in the apple world, and there's some sort of dynamic changing actually with respect to apple varietals. But you can't own the word apple for apples, right? That goes without saying. But you also aren't really meant to be able to own the word Fuji for apples because a bunch of different growers might make Fuji apples, might grow Fuji apples. Although having said that, there are some laws sort of changing about that in some kinds of varietal names, and there might be periods of time where maybe you do sort of have ownership of it, on it, and then sort of patent law kind of intersects here. But in any event, that's sort of the general gist of it, right? Gala, Fuji, Macintosh. These are, although again, Macintosh might actually be
So a
trademarked. But
way
anyway,
to think of it is that
these
the
are
purpose of a
varietals.
trademark is to tell you who made the
Cabernet
good,
you
who
can't
offers
own.
the good, who
Right.
stands behind that good,
Yeah.
and the quality
Right.
assurance, not what is the good.
Right.
So if you protect Blue Dream, then you're protecting what it is with the good itself.
Right.
That's different than.
Yeah.
So for example, we can disclose because it's all public. We have a client who makes is a cultivator, makes excellent cannabis, and I can disclose this. Yeah, and
Like the name?
yeah, because we
okay.
filed,
Yeah, all
right?
Yeah.
All right, I'm just gonna make something up.
I wouldn't know the difference.
I
so.
know, right? So, well, we will. All right. So, let's say that he's a cultivator, and let's say he sells Blue Dream. I don't think he does. Maybe he sells Cheezel. Maybe it's amazing. And so, if he came to us, and he didn't, but if he had come to us and said, can you protect Cheezel? We would have said no. You don't own it. No one can own it. All the reasons we just gave. So instead, what we did is he came up with a trademark for his brand. A brand. So let's say it's Soft, because I just saw that.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe we should just say it. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's butter. It's Butter Brand. Really
Big
good.
build-up.
It's Butter Brand.
So much hype. So
I
much
know,
hype
it's
in Butter
Butter
Brand.
Exactly, but he
So he makes this Butter Brand, and he's worked hard to build out a logo, and he's got a nice design mark, and so whenever you buy his product, you buy Butter Brand Cheezel. Right?
Okay.
So that's telling you this is who it comes from. This is, this person stands behind their growing techniques, whatever they are. You stand
Sort of
behind.
like Coca-Cola, no?
Well,
because cola is like a really general.
Well, sort
Like
of, but
no?
it's different with plants because the thing about plants is this varietal issue, and so this comes out of wines too. So you can't own Cabernet or Pinot,
Right.
But you know that you like Kendall Jackson versus Wild Horse, right? So there's the brand name, there's the varietal name, and then there's the thing: grapes, Cabernet.
Right.
Wild Horse. And so that's the same thing. There's Butter Brand, there's Cheezel, and then there's marijuana, or cannabis. So
basically somebody has to make the best Blue Dream and
then
brand
you
it
know
themselves.
it by the brand
right.
name.
And then
And
you're
then-
like, I only buy Blue Dream from this brand.
Got it.
And that's right, and that speaks to their cultivation methods, to their curing methods. And so then if you go to Oakland or you go to San Francisco and you find Butter Brand Cheezel, it's going to be the same thing.
Right.
And that's how you avoid that sort of letdown. Oh, I got some crappy Blue Dream here and I got some great Blue Dream there. What the hell's wrong with Blue Dream? Well, it's because you're getting some inconsistent product that all of it is the same strain. So it would be the same thing if we wiped off the labels from wine bottles and we just told you you're getting a Cabernet. Obviously, you're going to get a different. You're going to get
It
a
would
different
be
vintage.
absurd.
You're going to get. You would never know. How could you possibly enjoy Cabernet if every time you drank it, it was some random thing completely different than the other time you had it?
Kind of the situation we have.
It is exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like
It's amazing
should-
how many
yeah.
parallels between wine and
It
cannabis
is.
there are.
There
So
are.
right?
many. Yeah.
Everybody wants to make the
I still stand by
tobacco
apples.
comparison, but it's really
No,
not.
no,
not
it's
at all.
wine
completely
makes a
right.
lot more sense.
Although I guess you could sort of it's much more analogous to just sort of produce too, and as long as there's different
Wine
varieties of
comes
produce.
from grapes,
but
so it
wine
makes
definitely,
sense.
I mean, wine's like really
Yeah.
the big one.
So the way that you would potentially get at what you're trying to describe is a certification mark where you have an outside body, not the company themselves, but like the Emerald Growers Association, an organization like that says, okay, we're going to have a certification mark, and maybe it's about growing practices. If you follow all of these practices, you can use our certification mark. Or maybe they come up with something that's specific to Blue Dream to address this issue, and they say, look, if you can prove to us that you are, growing and selling a Blue Dream that has these strain genetics, and you can show as, your test results fit this profile, you can use our certification mark that says like True Blue Dream or whatever.
Right.
So that is a way to get it. So you're certifying the
That you
quality
pay
of
for
your
that.
goods.
That certification.
Well, that's up to the organization.
Yeah, not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
Depends.
Yeah,
If
and
they
you
were
and you
smart.
surely shouldn't have. I mean,
Yes, there would be a benefit to them to do it, I guess.
But you definitely that would be that's like you're not meant to do that.
Right.
That you're sort of paying for that certification. I mean, that's
Got it.
like sort of
Right, that
unlawful.
kind of
Yeah.
defeats, I mean, it has to be valid.
Exactly,
too.
because then you're sort
Yeah.
of essentially duping the customers, and it's kind of like the grades we give to companies and how it's sort of a self-fulfilling
Yeah, it
cycle.
should be like that.
But so it's got to really be an independent body, and whether or not there's some payment to go and get your product tested, it can't be that you're essentially buying the certification.
Sure.
But that's exactly it. So what's interesting there is that you can either be certifying the strain, like she's saying exactly, which is sort of a distinction. You could be certifying that it's a truly grown in Humboldt and in accordance with certain practices that this certifying agency out of Humboldt is going to say you applied to whatever strain it is. Or it could be that you're certifying the quality of that strain, which actually is really interesting because you'd have to sort of find, at this point, you'd have to find like the patient zero of that strain,
Right.
determine what the most likable version of Blue Dream is,
Right.
or whatever, or
They
that
have
sort
to
of highest
agree
quality.
on some kind of
Yeah.
consensus, right? They
Yeah.
just have to decide this
That
is
would
the
be
Blue Dream
interesting.
that we're
Yeah.
going to certify.
And how, I mean,
Yeah.
would you even, it would work great with new strains,
Yeah.
but God, how would you even
It
do
would
that?
be
You'd
really
have to go,
Yeah.
It'd be interesting.
So, but
We should blog about
inconsistent
that.
streams aren't just a bummer for me, right? It's
Right.
actually like potentially a health
it's
risk,
a problem.
right?
Yeah, well, especially
Right.
because like different terpenes. So different terpenes. If you're like allergic to pine
What's a
needles,
terpene?
what's a terpene?
Yeah.
It's the little crystals on the outside of the plant that affect how you are digesting and consuming it.
Cool.
Yeah. So actually, an interesting thing about terpenes.
We try to
even though-
teach people
Even
stuff
though I
here,
can't
you know.
explain what they are, is that all other plants have like at most one terpene. So like there is a pine terpene, and pine trees have that terpene, and there's a pineapple terpene. They don't all have pine in them. That's just an example. But cannabis is the one plant that has multiple terpenes in it. So each plant that you have, and actually hops also have terpenes. I don't know if they have multiple, but in fact, no, I think they just have the one. So each strain of cannabis has potentially multiple terpenes in its terpene profile. And if you are allergic to pine, like if when you walk through a pine forest, you start sneezing, and then you consume cannabis that has, especially if you smoke it, that has that pine terpene in it, or if you use it as balm and put it all over your face, you could have an allergic reaction to that. So there is a great example of why it would be really shitty.
Really dangerous.
To get something that in fact you have a big health problem with.
Totally.
Yeah.
So of all of what you're working on right now, what's the legacy going to look like? What's the 2 years legacy?
Really good question.
Oh, man. That is a good question.
I have an answer, but I want you to say first.
But I'm so glad you
And,
have an answer.
Right.
I always have an answer, whether it's right or not. It's
Okay,
different.
so the issue of legacy, though, isn't necessarily the same as sort of what takes our attention right now or what
What's
we
your
see.
10-year plan?
Yeah. It's like, in terms of, I think, legacy, I actually think Bar Association has the highest potential of being sort of a legacy bar, something we're going to leave, something that I'm really hoping that other people after us are going to take on and take as much ownership as we have and run with it, and that it can grow. I mean, we're both members of other specialty bar associations, and some of these bar associations are multiple generations of lawyers into their existence now, and they've done really great things, and there's a lot of value in being a member of them. And so I'm hoping that's what happens with the Bar Association. And I don't mean to say that somehow trumps in terms of value or importance to me any of the other projects, but like the legacy wise, I think it has the most opportunity to leave a legacy behind.
Yeah, I think that, and for me, it's always about women in the industry. I mean, women grow, and I'm really passionate about. I have a background in feminist theory, and I've just always
So that was going to be my answer, by the way.
strongly about that, and I feel
Not
like
that the Bar
See, the thing
Association
is-
isn't very important.
No, totally. Well, the thing about Women Grow, though, is that
It's not ours.
we didn't own it. Yeah,
no,
exactly.
it's not.
ours.
But I wasn't actually going to say that. I was
But,
going to say, like, NCBA has a 10-member board, half are women, and the entire executive team, which 2/3 is sitting right here, is women. So there's another one. And, we got interviewed, Shabnam got a big spread in Cosmopolitan magazine, which was very cool. And I think we are demonstrating that in these fields, cannabis and law, where women are traditionally underrepresented, that you can actually spearhead your, you can
it manifests that
start a
goal.
company.
It is women leading things, women lawyers, and all the women involved are leaders in their other professional lives as well. So like in their law firms or I guess it's all law firms. And I think it manifests that. But I think mostly the distinction for me is that we don't own. I mean, I feel like
we don't own Women
really
Grow. It's
Jane and Jasmine's sort of legacy.
It's more like just the women in the industry thing. I want to continue to shape that as we move through.
Absolutely.
I think we probably will,
and we will by being leaders. Industry.
Not will, you are leaders.
Yes.
You are leaders.
Yes, leaders.
So speaking of this topic, there was a Newsweek article that came out recently, right? And I'm going to read the title because it's pretty powerful.
Good.
It's called Women in Weed, How Legal Marijuana Could Be the First $1 Billion Industry Not Dominated by Men. I fucked up the last part, right? That was like the good part, too.
That was not dominated.
I know.
What did you think of the piece? You're mentioned in the piece. It's great publicity for the two of you. But what did you think of the piece when it came out?
It's a great piece. I mean, we were so excited. We obviously knew something was coming. We talked to the...
I didn't know something was coming. I was caught completely by surprise.
This was one
like,
rare
what
instance
the
where only
hell?
I talked to the reporter. Usually we talk to them together. Shabnam's been talking. She's the president and executive director of the Bar Association, so she's had a lot of media contact and is a little could take a little bit of a break. So I spoke to the reporter briefly. So I knew the piece was coming, and it was funny talking to the reporter because she she's like, oh, I talked to so-and-so. I'm like, oh, my friend. Oh, you talked to that friend. Oh, you should talk to this one. And, it was just like
a small world,
laundry list of our people. Yeah. Mostly through Women Grow. And, I think the piece is amazing. I think that's right on. Women Grow is, National is thrilled that their mission statement is on the cover of Newsweek. They're like, okay, we did it. Like, what?
Yeah.
What else
Talk
do
about
you want?
legacy.
Yeah. No, I think it's amazing. I think it's great to get the conversation going. It's certainly, it was great for us. To be quite honest, I was like, oh, this is really cool. Look, they mentioned me. Hey, that's cool. Look, my friends. And then I kind of didn't think much of it. And then I did the obligatory, like, hey, here's the Facebook post. Look, because I was getting tagged in them. And I could tell from the response that it was really significant. And so we got, I felt more like, okay, this is really cool. We've been really fortunate. There's been a lot of media interested in cannabis and women. It's a combination that appeals to people, and I think for good reason. But this is huge. Newsweek.
It's huge, yeah. Because you feel like you're in, like for a while you're
bigger,
in your own.
Maybe
yeah, exactly.
60 Minutes? I don't know.
I know.
And it's like mainstream.
Rachel Maddow.
Investing in cannabis?
Exactly.
That's
Exactly.
Yeah.
I want to get on Forum.
Right.
Get my little local NPR action going. But I feel like we're in our bubble, and we, with the cannabis press especially, like I feel like it's been sort of, I'm listening to other people who are listening to me. We're all sort of saying the same thing. So to see a Newsweek piece just really brought it home that no, this is actually huge and out there, and it is crossing the line into mainstream industry and mainstream media, and that's why it's important that women are leaders in this industry, because we're not in our own little niche thing separate from everybody else. Everybody else is going to know that this is an industry populated and led by women. And I think that's a power sort of that Newsweek piece, because that topic has been talked about. SF Evergreen did a whole issue on women in the cannabis industry 3 months ago. Yeah, but it's a cannabis magazine, and only the cannabis industry is reading it. So it was really cool to see this on the cover of Newsweek.
It's also great, like, obviously being in Newsweek is legitimating to the industry as a whole, but I also think in this instance, framing it as women are dominating the industry, or women are heavily in the industry, we're not dominating, but heavily in the industry, is also very good for cannabis, because, well, women at the forefront may not be a benefit to all industries. It's definitely a benefit to a marginalized, stigmatized industry traditionally associated with some of the stereotypes you talked about at the opening of the show. And
it's not about being the bud tender or the hot girl behind the counter,
being,
It's
being
the leader.
Business owner.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, look, these, professional, upstanding members of their community, these moms, these women are in cannabis. How bad could it be? I think it kind of forces people to, I feel like my coming out about cannabis sometimes with family or friends who don't know, although now that ship has sailed, but it used to be. I
hope so.
But it used to be that I felt like I could do some real good, sort of like when I come out, because I'm a lesbian as well, and similarly, I think it's great to be able to challenge stereotypes in that way, and so I think it's also really good for the industry that we're.
And I think part of it too is like it's that. You not only is there a group of people coming out and they're like, hey, look, I'm all polished and professional, and I also am a business owner in the cannabis industry. But it kind of is that it turns out you can be a stoner and be a business owner. You can be a stoner and be a mom. And you can be a good mom. You can be a stoner and be a good dad. And that's what I think what's great about a lot of the, especially California folks sort of coming out of the woodworks and coming out of the closet, is that nobody's disavowing their pot smoking, their stonerhood. There is that. These aren't mutually exclusive. I was just talking to somebody about this. These aren't mutually exclusive concepts, stoner and professional, or stoner and successful, or stoner and mom.
We would not say that drinking and professionalism are...
Exactly. And stoner and drunk is not the same thing. Yeah, exactly. Like stoner could be just an everyday person who's just smoking pot every day, and that person is not mutually exclusive of a person who is accomplished or successful. And it might not be, all of us might not be able to maintain a daily robust pot smoking habit and the other things, but there's a lot of people who can, and those people are perfectly capable of being leaders and are leaders in this industry and have been running in the engines of this industry. And so I think that's also part of it, is that in particular in California, there's a lot of people who are doing real well and who are raising families and running farms and running businesses and smoke pot every day. And that's perfectly fine. And they're just as welcome in this industry. Not but 50 years ago, men were drinking every day at the office, and still they were running companies, and nobody was taking that power away from them, calling them drunks. This is the same. People are perfectly capable of doing that, and they're the very people who've been sort of running this engine. And so it's like, that's also what I think is so great about it. And it's among the women too. There's plenty of high tolerance women out there who are consuming their cannabis
I've
and
met
are
some,
still
yeah.
running their
Yeah, yeah.
lives. Yeah.
It's good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that's also, and I think the California market is in particular a really positive demonstration of that.
Yeah.
That those two images kind of come together into one person oftentimes.
Yeah.
As much as they exist separately, they also can exist together.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we very much started this show to sort of start to counteract that stereotype, right? Of the white, chubby male on the couch,
Yeah.
smoking weed and eating Cheetos. Even though I just ironically described myself.
I mean, look, that sounds like a good Friday night to me.
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
or Tuesday night.
Yeah, or
It's Tuesday,
yeah,
right?
night is that word?
tonight,
Yeah.
Exactly. We're doing that later. Wait,
There's an
right
after
now.
party. There's an after
It's that
party.
guy on the couch.
Cameraman.
He's eating Cheetos.
Oh, but seriously, when we started this show, you are the exact type of guest that we envisioned. I just made a new
I
word.
like it. I like it. Good.
I just made a
Someone
new
call
word.
the OED.
Because the industry is so traditionally one way, right? And having strong women like yourself that are not strong for the sake of being women, but strong for the sake of being business people and attorneys is why we do this show. So thank you again so much for being on, guys. It's been a pleasure
for
and a
having
lot of
us.
fun.
Yes.
A lot. You guys should start your own podcast, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Done.
We've talked
Yeah.
about it.
So, should we do it now?
You've talked about
Okay,
it.
ready?
You've talked about it.
Yeah, totally.
A
Yeah,
couple
in my
housekeeping
garage.
notes. We are everywhere that media can be found. YouTube under Cannabis Podcast, iTunes under Investing in Cannabis, Twitter at Cannabis Pod. Subscribe on YouTube. We do video now. Amanda, Shabnam, it's been a pleasure. Are you on Twitter? You want people to follow you? Women Grow, Brandon Branch?
Yeah, follow Brandon Branch on Twitter.
BrandonBranch.com.
Where you go to brandonbranch.com. That's our website. You can find all our social media there. Find out more about us. And
She's our web mistress.
Yes,
Our webmaster doing a
designed
great
our
job.
website with
For the Bar
Squarespace.
Association as well, actually.
Yes. Yeah, maybe don't review that one.
Squarespace, yeah.
But the
Yeah.
Hey, if you want to sponsor Squarespace, you just holler at us. You know, no problem. No
they
problem.
sponsor all the other podcasts.
They do.
Yeah.
That's actually true.
Right.
Great
Yeah.
people over there. Great people
Yeah.
over
Yeah,
there.
the Lauren Lapkus, everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome, guys. It's been fun.
Thank you.
Thanks to Jacob, our director, always making us look special, and the whole rest of the team. And hey, guys, thanks for watching. See you next time.